bitch, a ribbon cocoa. We invented the cherry tomato and Waze USB drives and the Iron Dome. Israeli salad, Uzi Stenton, Jaffa's orange grow. Microchips is us, iPhone cameras us, taco salads us, Bodagabamo's us, Olive Garden us, White Claws for us, Sabra Hamas, Hezbollah sus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bad Hezbollah,
the world's most boreal podcast, by which I mean I was just driving above the 50 or 51st parallel in Manitoba, and you start getting into boreal forest, short little pine and spruce trees.
Love some borealness. My name is Matt Lieb. I will be your most boreal co-host for this podcast.
The boreality. My name is Daniel Mate. I'm your other most moral co-host. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, to another episode of Bad Hezbollah.
That's right. We really do love all of you, each and every one of you out there who are watching, who are subscribers, who are non-subscribers, but are subscribe curious. And of course, give a big shout out to producer Adam Levin on the ones and twos. He's out here. And on the threes and fours, thank you, Brent, for all of your hard work. Please subscribe to our Patreon if you have not yet, patreon.com/badhezbollah. You get a bonus episode every week. And not only that, but you also get all of these episodes a little bit earlier than everybody else. And I mean, that's priceless. But if I had to put a price on it, it's $5 a month. So please do that. And if you're someone who doesn't want to go to Patreon to do it, you can now subscribe to the member feed on YouTube, and you can also subscribe to the member feed on Substack. That's right, Substack. It's not just for writing anymore. It's for looking at video.
I'm torn, speaking of looking at video, I'm torn between recommending people watch this episode on video because there'll be plenty of visual stuff.
Sure.
And asking the people to just this once listen to the audio because my hair is completely messed up. I misplaced my argan oil, which which moisturizes and curls my unruly locks.
I didn't know you used argan oil.
I do use argan oil.
I use boron oil.
Boron.
Because argon's also an element on the periodic table.
Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't know there was argan oil.
Not argan from Morocco. It's
that's different.
Some kind of plant. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes more sense than than some sort of early element oil.
Lead oil.
I use lead oil.
Borium.
That's
barium.
right.
Yeah.
I use uranium oil on
Plutonium
my hair.
Oil. Yeah.
To keep it nice and spicy. Today's episode is
it really makes it glow.
It does.
It's a glow.
Today's episode is brought to you by Middle East Children's Alliance. Middle East Children's Alliance has a team of staff, volunteers, and partner organizations who responded to the urgent needs of children and families under attack in Gaza. They are currently providing food and hygiene kits, hot meals, safe and clean drinking water, and psychological support. If you have any money and you would like to donate it to a good cause, that's not just two assholes being idiots, then please take that money and put it somewhere better.
I thought we were two idiots being assholes.
We're sort of both. We, depends on the day. Sometimes we switch. MECAforpeace.org is where you go to donate. MECA for peace, FORPEACE.org. Please go to MECAforpeace.org. Donate today. Donate now. Do it. Daniel, what's this been?
I'm glad you spelled out Mecca for peace because literally every one of those words could be spelled a different way.
That's very true.
It's very true. All right. So more road records today. The very best of Hank Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Including
Hey, good looking.
That's on here.
What you got cooking?
Yeah, it's on here. Your Cheating Heart, Jambalaya.
How's about cooking some Lady G? R.I.P. Lady G. Sorry, that's Lindsey Graham.
Oh, Lindsey Graham. Yeah.
Known as Lady G to a bunch of sex workers whose NDAs just expired.
Yeah, well, but R.I.P., of course, whatever you want to make P stand for in this case. But I would say just whatever you do, don't grieve him because he's doing all right. In fact, here's how he's feeling.
I'm super. Thanks for asking. All things considered, I couldn't be better. I'm a thing. I'm feeling super.
Fantastic.
He's doing great.
Everything is super when don't you think I look cute in this hat?
That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
big gay L
Yeah.
is happy in hell.
Yes.
Speaking about swingers,
look at this.
Frank Sinatra and Count Basie with arrangements by Quincy Jones. It might as well be swing.
Holy shit.
This is going to be some hot stuff once I get back to the turntable.
Yeah, let me know how that sounds.
I will. Canada is known for its cour de bois and its
Sure.
It's fur trappers and it's beaver. So here's not a Canadian, but his name is Little Beaver. Party down.
Hell yeah. Little Beaver, huh?
A little beaver never hurt anyone. His real name is Willie Hale.
It's wild how, in pop music, appending little as a nickname has been around forever.
It works kind of. You could do Little Hitler.
It just always works.
You almost wouldn't notice.
Yeah, exactly. You got Little Richard, all the way to Lil Yachty.
Yeah, Lil Yachty. Yeah.
Just there's always littles. There's always these littles out there.
All these littles.
Then there's Tiny Tim. That didn't work as much. He was tiny, not little. I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
People listen to that earnestly, or is that a novelty act?
That's absolutely a novelty act.
Okay, all right. It's a bit.
People have heard of Tiny Tim, but one artist who doesn't get nearly enough credit is infinitesimal
Tony?
Eric. Infinitesimal Bob.
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
it's because he couldn't come up with a good alliteration.
Yeah, microscopic Matt. I'm very little. I don't understand it, but people like it.
Well nigh unglimpsable William.
Nigh unglimpsable.
Right. We'll speed it up. This is Handsome Boy Modeling School with the album So How's Your Girl. This is Prince Paul and Dan the Animator with a lot of different guests on here. Cool. Elliott Smith, who I'm sure you must be into. This is Either Or.
You'd think,
but you're not.
I mean, I just never started.
Yeah.
I heard a couple of the songs. I was like, yeah, those sound good, but I just never.
Melancholic movie soundtrack music.
I don't know why I was never in the mood for getting into him. I think it's because I already had a bunch of like Sufjan Stevens to listen to.
I was just going to say.
I was like, I just feel like I don't need another like dead guy. I don't need a dead guy in my life to like. Anymore. Like I want to, like at least Sufjan's alive.
And Sufjan has just a real gift with melody and and lyrics and all. We'll see how I feel about the Elliott Smith, but I thought it was worth noting. And then when I was at Record Collectors Paradise in Edmonton, they assured me this is the greatest Brazilian album of all time. Arthur Verocai. From the 1970s. This whole movement of Tropicalia and related genres in Brazil is always so great. I never regret getting a Brazilian album from that era. Yeah. So
Tropicalia, a great song by Beck.
It's a self-titled album by Arthur Verocai. Yes, off Mutations.
That's right. I love that album. People sleep on that one.
They do. It's a very good album.
Are you a Beck head?
Up to a point. You got me into Sea Change. I like Sea Change, but I was more of a fan of everything from One Foot in the Grave all the way to Midnight Vultures.
Yeah.
Nicotine Gravy. She looks so Israeli.
That's right. They just rhyme, folks. They just rhyme.
He
might be a Scientologist too, but I don't think he is. I think he just was born into it.
Hopefully he's not a Scientologist. Anyway,
yes,
that's the spin. That's what's spinning in the Mate vehicle. And now it's time to introduce our very special guest. We are so excited to have her aboard. She is a public intellectual, a scholar, but the kind of scholar that ordinary people like us can understand. We're not going to be sitting here quizzically looking at her nodding, pretending to understand the jargon. No.
Yeah, that's
this woman speaks the language of the layperson. Yes. And she's the author of DEI Undone, which the very title of it fascinates me, and I want to ask her about it. Please welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, Dr. Sabreena Ghaffar-Siddiqui.
Hi.
How'd I do with the name?
Hi, everyone. Almost.
Perfect. Say it for us.
Almost. Sabreena Ghaffar-Siddiqui.
Ghaffar-Siddiqui. Okay.
Yeah.
You did really well, though. I'm proud of you.
I would have done better.
Appreciate it.
I think everyone knows.
Do it then, Matt. Just do
No,
it.
I can't. It's too late. It's too late. You already
Prove
said
it.
it. You know, it's
Prove
just,
it.
I
He wouldn't
can't.
want to undermine me by
I don't
showing
want to
me up.
undermine. Exactly. I told Daniel he could do it. You know, so it's just I don't want to show off.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to live up to your standard, Matt. Welcome, Sabreena. How are you doing? How is you're in Toronto, yeah?
Toronto, it's hot, so I've got the fan blowing.
I doubt it's as hot
so-
as it is here in Winnipeg. It was 100 degrees here yesterday, Fahrenheit,
Oh, wow.
like close to 40.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
nuts.
hot in LA
we-
too, but I'm in my air conditioned studio, so I'm feeling pretty good right now.
We're all having
Sorry,
a summer.
I don't know. That sounded like a brag. I'm sorry for bragging.
Sounded
go.
like an elitist brag.
I'll go.
I'm in an air-conditioned hotel boardroom, which they're kind enough to let me use. And do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your book, DEI Undone? I was when I saw on your because I've been following you on Twitter, and then you did this event with my brother Aaron in Toronto a few weeks ago, and I looked at your Twitter bio, and it said that you were a DEI consultant, and I was like, I wonder what we're going to talk about with a DEI consultant, given that sometimes I tend to get a little skeptical about Gen X and skeptical about the DEI industry from a leftist perspective. And then I find out that you've written a book what are you doing with this book with regard to the DEI industry? And how does it relate to the rest of your work?
It's basically a dismantling of DEI.
Huh.
So yeah, people initially, they think that I'm a pro DEI person, which I guess I was, right? I was for 15 years working in the DEI world. I guess I should reverse and introduce myself properly. So, most people know me as Dr. Sabreena. I've been doing social media, like public advocacy, public intellectual, public scholarly work for 15 years or so. So I actually didn't even realize that there was a term, official academic term for this, but, there is such a thing as public sociologists that have existed for a really long time. And I was doing that work before I even knew it was something that people did. And the idea is that rather than focusing all my energy on articles, journal articles, and research within the institution, I would take my understanding and my learning and teaching and put it out in the world through social media. So I've been doing this like advocacy and analysis work online for quite a long time. I have been speaking about Palestine for 10, 12 years. And I was hired I was a professor of sociology and criminology for 5 years at Sheridan College, which is one of the most well-known colleges in Canada.
They have a very good musical theater program, from what I remember. That's where Come From Away started. The Broadway show, it actually started incubated as a workshop there.
Yeah, exactly. They're very well known for their animation and kind of creative work as well. So I was then hired and placed in this role as senior DEI advisor, which wasn't just to the college, but it was a national role. So I advised higher education institutions in all of Canada on DEI. And when they hired me, it was because of my public advocacy and my public profile. I had been on all the mainstream news channels. Every time a conversation about race or identity or anything related to marginalized people, inequality would come up, I would be interviewed on like CBC, CB24. So they were really, interested in bringing me on and celebrating me. And I was in that role for a little while, and then October 7th happened, and I continued doing everything I had already been doing that they were so proud of. But now all of a sudden I became a nuisance.
And they were like, inclusion ends here.
Not that type. Yeah.
You've done too much inclusion.
That's diverse enough. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
How much equity do you want? We didn't vet this.
Yeah.
And even though there was like this support within the department and the college, and it seemed on the surface like they weren't my enemies, right? These are allies. But because of the influx of the complaints, which were like, they had so many complaints coming in weekly because of my social media advocacy. Finally, a complaint landed directly in the president's office because, Zionists don't have power, but they do have the power to go directly to the president of Sheridan College and
they don't identify as having
insist.
power. So it's
Yeah.
actually offensive to ascribe power to them. But I mean, Sabreena, or Dr. Sabreena, rather, these complaints, if you're going to be a public intellectual, take yourself out of the sphere of rigorous, academic scrutiny from within. Isn't this just what peer review looks like if you're a social media advocate?
That's right. Aren't these your peers?
Absolutely. I mean, the complaints were coming from people in the DEI field. There were complaints apparently coming from within the institution. The call was coming from within the house. Like they were just accusing me of anti-Semitism. But what the interesting thing was, every time there was an investigation, which there were many, like weekly investigations, when the kind of like equity team, the investigative team within the college was Googling me and trying to figure out how anti-Semitic I was, they would always land on the articles written about me as the co-founder of Sisterhood of Salam Shalom, which is a Muslim-Jewish sisterhood established in Canada, the first of its kind to be established here in
when was
2016. 2016. And I was the co-founder with a Jewish scholar. And they would read all about that and they'd be like, oh, I guess she's not anti-Semitic.
They were like, we got to figure out a way to make this not the Google result. That's basically what ended up happening.
Google is anti-Semitic for making that the first result.
Yeah, it keeps giving me this information.
And they would always tell me too. They'd always be like, "Oh, we actually found some of the really great work you've done, to bring Jewish and Muslim communities together." And I was like, "Yeah, exactly." But I always said, this was a form of psychological violence that I was put through continuously, like one investigation after another, because I didn't know what the result was going to be. I didn't know if they were going to actually, decide that I was anti-Semitic and then that charge would be laid against me and tarnish, my name and my credibility forever.
And by the time it happened, did it surprise you, or were you jaded enough to expect this and know that it was completely in bad faith? Like, some people get shook by this. What do you mean you're calling me an anti-Semite? Like, did it faze you?
My own boss, at one point, the last complaint that came in that landed in the president's office, my ally boss turned around and told me that my land acknowledgement that I gave, in which I acknowledged the current colonization in Palestine, and she said that it was anti-Semitic because I said I talked about the unfortunate loss of Israeli lives due to their position as settlers, illegal settlers on that land. And so I acknowledged the loss of life, but I rooted it in the fact.
In the context of the situation that they were in. That is wild. There was a time where context was the most anti-Semitic thing that you could apply to any situation.
And she turned around and she said, well, that was anti-Semitic. And I immediately, in that moment, it was a Zoom meeting, and I was like, how? How is that anti-Semitic? And I had sent this land acknowledgement to you for approval, and you approved it before. So does that make you anti-Semitic for initially saying I should? And then, at the time, my lawyer friend had said,
no, she just hadn't done her due diligence.
My lawyer friend said, write her an email and ask her exactly how it was anti-Semitic. And when I wrote her the email, she ignored the email because she knew that she had just accused me of something that was a lie. But anyway, in the end, I ended up resigning from that role because of all the psychological violence of the continuous investigations. Plus, it was an act of protest against the DEI industry. I felt like it was very important for me as the senior leader of a college who was advising nationally on DEI. I needed to make this a public statement. So I resigned and I wrote a very powerful resignation letter, and then I posted it on LinkedIn and everywhere. And by then I already had quite a lot of followers, so they were really worried. Immediately on LinkedIn, it had thousands and thousands of shares, and then HR was like, please, can you take down your post?
Well, I just learned something, which is that people actually still use LinkedIn. I've never been institutionally affiliated enough to to have any use for it, but it's still. Let me ask you this: we're not going to be able to spend too much time on this piece, but since you've written a book about it, I would love to know. Someone could argue, okay, you could make a critique of the DEI industry that it has a huge Palestine blind spot, but it's a different thing to go from that, to leap from that to, I want to dismantle and take down the entire industry. How did that incident and that blind spot, had you already been, and what is your critique of the industry as a whole beyond just this one incident, revealing a lacuna, to quote a word, an academic word from the last episode?
So I always say that, Palestine ended up being like the Achilles heel for DEI. October 7th became the Achilles heel. Like, we already had criticisms of it because it was so corporatized. It was so deeply embedded in capitalism. Like, as soon as you start seeing, DEI becoming like the slogan, like very capitalistic kind of slogan, and it's all about optics and not really about improving the lived experiences of the people you claim to care about, then, it becomes hollow.
Once you see Macmillan Blodell, Canadian logging company, putting out DEI commercials, and Bank of Montreal, and
I'd like to know that there's equity at Lockheed Martin. You know what I mean? Like when Raytheon is telling you about diversity, you're just like, I have a feeling that these words are empty.
It's basically industrial, identity politics, right? Like, it just became about identity representation. The inclusion was there. The equity absolutely wasn't there. So with Palestine, what happened was all the contradictions started to come to the surface, where we had made all these statements about Ukraine, right? All these DEI departments were raising money, fundraising for Ukraine. And I remember even at the time thinking to myself, I wonder how the Russian students feel, right? Because we're really taking a side here and we're demonizing a community. Now, aside from the politics of it all, but if we're really going to look at this from a DEI perspective, you are isolating a group by putting another group, in this spotlight of moral moral superiority, right? So when that happened, and nobody really minded because everybody was like, yeah, Ukraine. And then, Palestine and all the atrocity propaganda was coming out, the faux crisis of beheaded babies, all of that was happening. And then statements were initially made about Israel, and then nothing was said about Palestine. All of a sudden, it was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, this does not seem like DEI, and the contradictions were very, very clear. And so I say that Palestine became the litmus test because the truth is, the book kind of chronicles it's called The Rise, Fall, and Rebirth of DEI. And in The Rise, we talk about all the very radical revolutionary movements historically that actually are the foundation of DEI. We were already doing all this shit, right? We didn't need an acronym. We didn't need this acronym in order for us to do the work. It was already being done. Anti-racism work was already being done. Anti-oppression work was already being done. DEI just became this popular acronym, and it became co-opted. And then the very important part of this book that I really want to mention, the most controversial part of this book, is that I talk about how DEI was weaponized by Zionists and used to suppress other marginalized groups. And all of a sudden, Jewish supremacy showed itself where one group not only was able to exert more power, but their victimhood was considered the greatest victimhood. They were the greatest victim, so no one else could, have that status.
Well, Zionism is the original identity politics in some ways, but it was always due for, the popularization of, we could call the wokeification of culture, but without stepping on that landmine, the popularization of movements and the corporatization of movements, and the ideas like safe spaces and people's feelings, and all this kind of stuff becoming so supreme in terms of what people will allow or not allow on campuses, of course, is ripe for Zionists to pounce on it. And they did. They did after October 7th. All the precedents that were supposed to be used to uplift the marginalized are all of a sudden you just flip the language and now it's Jewish feelings. And you don't have to verify anything about their material conditions. All you have to hear is that they're afraid or uncomfortable.
And then there was this like alignment with whiteness and white supremacy, right? And like someone like Shai Davidai, who you and I have spoken about, like he basically was starting to talk about how, as a Jewish person, I think he wrote a tweet or something
let's pull that up. So we've got some of your exchanges with him. So you had tweeted every house that every, quote, Israeli had literally grown up in is literally a stolen house on stolen Palestinian land. And literally no Israeli belongs there, nor does the land belong to them. Oh yeah, it's a spicy take.
And by the way, this is a quote tweet of his in which that's important to know. I wasn't just being aggressive for no reason. I was quote tweeting him and he had said that I'm literally from, I grew up there or whatever. So I just kind of quote tweeted him and mocked him a bit.
Yeah. And then he responded, my parents worked their asses off to buy land and build a house for themselves. Anti-Semitism blinds people to the truth.
It blinds people to the truth that my parents are wonderful. Like, how are we supposed to know who your parents are, first of all?
Yeah.
And second of all, just the idea that, like, my parents worked really, really hard to colonize that land, all right? Okay.
They had to work for one whole day to afford the heavily discounted price the Israeli government was offering for that stolen piece of property.
Insane.
To which you said, Crybaby Shai says, my parents worked their ass off, et cetera, et cetera. Adala, composed a database of discriminatory laws in Israel that favor Jews and disfavor non-Jews. For example, the law of return and absentees property law, but are but two examples of flagrant racism and discrimination in the Israeli legal system. And you went off. It's a much longer tweet, but you brought a lot of receipts. But just again, his.
The point is, like, he was talking about how, like, my parents worked so hard. And my tweet here is trying to prove that, no, actually, they were privileged by a legal system that gives them rights over non-Jews.
Yes.
So they actually didn't work that hard. It was handed to them.
That's right. It's plunder, theft, expropriation, and then you hand off the bloody spoils of all of that to your children. And then you get to say, okay, no more theft, no more plunder. Now the transfer of property, now the redistribution ends. Now now we put up the wall.
Right. Having morals starts now.
Now.
Exactly.
Right. Property rights start now.
Yeah, exactly.
The dignity of the person.
Also Zionists use, right? And this is a very colonizer tactic where they use progress, titles, awards, wealth, elite status to prove that they are more civilized and worthy, right? But they don't talk about how that wealth was acquired, who gave them the awards, where the titles came from, at what expense, at whose expense that was earned. It's like, to be civilized is to have all these things. But in order to have all these things, what we did is we took it from the uncivilized.
Yeah, and that's also very colonizer. I mean, Americans have done it for centuries. The Brits did it before them. The British Museum, which is basically the world's biggest collection of stolen goods, is proof of how far above we are of all these cultures from which we plundered all these items. Then you got into it with Shai over his complicated and ever flexible and ever changing relationship to whiteness.
Don't call me white! Don't call me white!
Yes.
Don't call Shai white. But in 2022, you were white, Shai. That's what you tweeted at him, because he had said, I'm Jewish, not white. I would expect more from a social justice warrior like yourself. And of course, there was a community note saying that Shai Davidai self-identified as white multiple times, including on this website in 2022, when he said, I am straight, I am white, I am a male. But let this be clear. no matter what any court says, women have a right to control their own bodies.
It's
He's like a
absolutely
superhero. When it
perfect.
comes time to defend women's bodily autonomy, he automatically becomes a white man. But then when it
Yes.
becomes to defend the Jewish people,
Yes.
he miraculously transforms into
he goes
non-white.
into a phone booth and turns white, and then he goes, I am white and straight and male, but I love women and I believe in their right to choose. And then he goes into a different phone booth and becomes a person of color.
If you're able to dip in and out of whiteness
Mhm.
so easily,
Yeah.
are you not just white then?
That's what white is. That's what white is. It's so
because
embarrassing.
a black person cannot do that. A brown
Yes.
person cannot dip in and out. Right?
Yes, it's the most embarrassing thing, that truly has spread beyond a point where I could possibly imagine before October 7th, where I am seeing white people just saying that they are not white and talking about conditional whiteness. And I was like, conditional whiteness, I understand as like an academic in an academic context. This is not an example of that. This is you choosing whether or not you think you're perceived as white, depending on the situation, which means you are white.
It's reverse code switching.
Yes.
It's like real code switching is about like having to code switch so that you can survive.
Right.
And you move between your original marginalized identity and then toning that down for the sake of the powerful. In this case,
no, this is just putting on a black scent so you can sound cool in front of your new friends at school. That's what this is. This is
which
very
I
different.
do all the time, but it doesn't make me black.
And it doesn't make it. It's not code switching. It's very different.
Yeah.
And aside from him as an individual, I don't know if you know, but 98% of Canadians self-identify as white.
Yeah.
And the number in America is, I think, 94% or 96%.
Sorry, 98% of Canadian...
of Canadian Jews.
Jews,
Yeah,
okay, got it.
yeah.
Self-identify as white.
Yeah. And I'd be interested to see them redo the census on that because
since October 7th.
I swear to God, it has changed immensely. I have seen more and more white Jewish people kind of go like, well, am I really white? And I'm
sure Jesse Brown is not going around thinking of himself or talking about himself as a white person. By the way, as of today, he's just tweeted again for the first time in about
welcome back, Jesse.
13 days. He must have been on holiday or something. I wanted to take credit for it, but maybe it wasn't all.
I think he was researching and preparing himself.
Yeah.
I just imagine like Eye of the Tiger in his headphones. He was training.
Oh, man. He's on the phone with Eve Barlow and Ben Shapiro and Lizzie Savetsky. What am I missing? Teach me how you do what you do. What I'm doing is not working.
Look for a free parking sign.
Brace yourself, Daniel, because he's coming.
He's coming after you, dude. He's going to get you.
Yeah, this is brilliant from you. You said, basically, I was a white European Ashkenazi Jew, but after October 7th, 2023, I decided not to be white anymore. It's not that hard. Don't you get it? Zionists, Jews, can opt in and out of whiteness. We should say Ashkenazi Jews, that is, because Mizrahi Jews, Sephardic Jews aren't going to have as easy a time doing that, although inside of Israel, their whiteness is sort of constructed for them in a different way than out here.
Sure.
God promised this to us. Why are you being anti-Semitic?
Yeah,
perfect.
This sounds like a fascinating book, especially given your experience being on the inside of DEI, not just spaces, but the industry itself. And I am interested in where it goes. I'll also read the book. Because obviously you don't want to give away the whole ending, but the rebirth part of the DEI, subtitle for the book. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is there a version of this almost corporatized, standardized DEI initiative that can be salvaged, or is just the mere fact that it's capitalist make it unsalvageable?
Yeah, for me, it's unsalvageable. Actually, the name of this book initially was supposed to be Decolonize DEI. And then my co-author, thought that DEI and done might be a little bit more appealing to people, who don't know what colonization or decolonization means. So, my take on it is that we really need to go back to decolonizing our minds, our systems, our institutions, the work that we're doing. And I think Palestine and post October 7th, this has been like an awakening for a lot of people where they're realizing like, this is interesting. Like the people who didn't really know much about Canada's colonial settler history even, or even America's colonization, right? And the history of the natives in America, it's almost like they're relearning all of that or going back and trying to find out what happened here. How is it connected to what we are now witnessing with our own eyes? So this whole decolonization process, I think, of our minds and then our actions and our interactions with each other. And for me, it's always about being in community with people. I always say that some of the greatest and most impactful work that I've done in terms of like advocacy or change making has been in community with people who are not from my in-group. I work very closely with a Jewish rabbi here in Toronto, an anti-Zionist Jewish rabbi. You probably know him, Daniel.
David?
David, yeah.
We've had him on the show, David Mevisar. I grew up, he was the rabbi at my parents' synagogue for quite a while.
All anti-Zionist Jews know each other.
I mean, he's like a proper badass,
Especially anti-Zionist Canadian Jews.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 10.
He is a badass. No, he is.
He is a badass. Like, him and I have worked on like some of these smaller things, like in the Peel District School Board, there was a situation and him and I worked together to combat that. It was a Zionist teacher who was, who was basically like harming some of the Muslim Arab kids there. And him and I worked together to bring attention to that because she weaponized her Jewishness. She weaponized anti-Semitism and interestingly, again, behaved in very white woman way.
What mean things were those 6-year-olds saying to her about Palestine existing?
They wore a keffiyeh.
Oh, wow.
And this particular child apparently shrugged his shoulders with his keffiyeh when he walked past her classroom. And he did it on purpose to threaten her.
Oh, a threatening shrug?
Yeah, he shifted his keffiyeh up as he was going past her classroom because she's Jewish and he needed to threaten her that way.
Real
right?
gangster, shrug night.
I cannot believe he got in trouble for a shrug.
Yeah.
The most non-committal human gesture.
Yeah, I don't know.
What are you going to do?
Wow.
And she also, like being a white woman, very visibly a white woman, also weaponized her whiteness and that white woman tears, I'm so scared, clutching of her pearls, and used that to demonize and villainize this child who was then surveilled and followed through the school by the senior administration, right?
I have a message for white men, okay? It's very problematic. White men need to get more in touch with their emotions because you're letting the burden of this humiliating trope fall entirely on white women. We need white men to be crying too and acting like babies.
That is
it's
true.
Just,
if you want to be
straight up misogyny, like share the load.
Yes.
Okay, you're just as much of a whiny baby as your wives, sisters, and female friends.
If you really want to be a male feminist ally while simultaneously maintaining white supremacy,
cry more.
You need to cry more. It's so true. That's so true.
And so David was he was amazing in terms of like coming in and trying to, like, as a Jewish rabbi, explaining that this is not anti-Semitism. But the real badass kind of win that we had recently, and I don't know if you know this, Daniel, but Aaron, Abby, so my event, which was a few weeks ago, it was being held in one of the most oldest and most iconic libraries and public buildings in Toronto, the Toronto Reference Library. And my co-panelists were Abby Martin, your brother Aaron, and Dr. Miriam Francois from the UK, and myself.
Oh my God, what a powerhouse of a panel.
The most radical anti-Semite.
Radical blunt rotation.
And there was a massive campaign started online to try and get Toronto Reference Library to cancel the event because we were all like the worst of the anti-Semites. And and this is where like Rabbi David Mavasser, like he started a counter campaign. And he went on Twitter and he was like, all right, guys, we need to call the library and write to them and tell them not to cancel the event. But the funny thing is that the library had to send out a message publicly that we're getting too many calls about the event being put on. We just want you to know we're definitely not canceling the event. So please stop calling. Please stop emailing us, because the counter campaign ended up overwhelming.
Of course it did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm determined, actually, now that I've seen the Nakba exhibit here at the Winnipeg National Museum for Human Rights. I initially called it the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. A friend corrected me because that makes it sound like it's just like this graveyard. Here's where we display the bones and fossils of human rights. That the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. I have a couple of friends who were deeply involved with the Japanese-Canadian dispossession exhibit, Broken Promises. There is also this Nakba exhibit, which I drove 8 hours yesterday from Flin Flon, Manitoba to get to the museum in order to see, because the museum is not open today and I'm only in town for 2 nights. So I wanted to make sure I got there. I needn't have rushed because I got there 2 hours in advance. The exhibit takes 10 minutes at most. It's 12 meters long in a massive, massive building. And yet it's very powerful. I'm not, it is what it is. But the controversy that it stoked. There were no protesters outside yesterday, but we've all seen videos of our friend Samira confronting the protesters. She does such a great job. Anyway, I'm going to be writing to the museum. I'm going to be writing to the minister, the culture minister, who's decided to weigh in on this. And people should be doing that too, because I don't know what kind of pressure the museum is under. That should be a permanent exhibit. It should be a much bigger exhibit. There's a permanent exhibit for the Holocaust that's quite majestic. It's not enormous. I've seen much bigger ones, but it's pretty big in the context of this museum. I think, in fact, the museum was built around it because it was built with the money of Israel Asper, an ultra-Zionist right-wing Canadian. And then the Jean Chrétien government told him, well, no, you got to make it about more than just this one violation of human rights. In any case, they've shoehorned in this little tiny exhibit, and the pressure that comes under that these institutions come under for even including the slightest bit of Palestine. And of course they do, because one tiny grain of the truth is more powerful than all the fucking bullshit Hasbara lies. And once people see this exhibit, if they didn't know anything about it beforehand, it's going to be hard for them to believe anything, no matter how many millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars the Hasbara industry pours into it. So yeah, I'm really glad I got to see it, and I encourage everyone else to come to Winnipeg and see it. And when you do, check out Yafa Cafe. Rana will take good care of you. She gave me a very nice brunch this morning. Lovely Palestinian cafe here in Winnipeg.
And I don't know if you remember, but the main kind of criticism of this exhibit is that there's no mention of Hamas, apparently. Yeah. And
you know what else? You know what else? There's no mention of
in the Nakba exhibit.
In the Nakba exhibit. I mean, there's one panel where they talk about what's gone on for the past couple of years. So it's not just a 1948 exhibit. Everything is crammed into such a small space. But yes, there is no mention of Hamas. You know what else there's no mention of? Jews, Jewishness, Jewish, or Judaism. Those words do not appear. It is the most mild, modest, you could even say meek, not meek, it's bold, but it's very small, very, very modest assertion, we as a people exist and something happened to us and people deserve to know about it.
But, I mean, obviously, like Hamas didn't even exist, right, when the Nakba took place, and this constant, and I talk about this, about how like the war on terror and this whole narrative of Muslims and Arabs being terrorists, and, this is so essential to Israel's identity, because otherwise it can't justify what it's doing. So it leans very heavily on this. The war on terror is the most convenient, and I'm being generous by saying convenient and not it's their creation. It's convenient for them. And that's why, I know we're going to be talking about Lander anyway, so maybe this will
Yeah, let's save let's save the segue about liberal Zionism for Lander. But before we get to Lander, something preempted the Brad Lander Dana Bash interview, and we mentioned Big Gay L earlier on, but Lindsey Graham died, and we wouldn't cover the death of just some random neocon American senator, both pro-settler senator. We wouldn't go deep into it, except you can't separate Lindsey Graham from the Hasvara sphere.
That's
and
right.
The
you
eulogies,
can't separate the art from the artist. You know
that's
what I mean?
exactly right. Talking about context, this was his context. That and Ukraine. And by the way, I can see why you and my brother get along so well, because you're both apostates on that aspect.
You're both Putinists.
You're both Putinists, exactly.
Yeah, and Assadists.
Assadist, Putin puppets.
Putinist,
you're
IRGCists.
Yeah. That's right. People don't even need to sound off in the comments about it because you're just admitting it. Thank you very much. But so Lindsey Graham died, and we have just a whole mess of an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the responses to this. So let me just get my running order. So first of all, we've seen that he's super. Thanks for asking. So don't worry about him. Wherever he is now, he's doing super. The first person to weigh in on it, the first person we're going to look at is, it's Mike Huckabee. Great.
Still processing the death of Lindsey Graham and reflecting on his life of service, his great sense of humor, and his love of Israel and the Jewish people.
Hold on. What? I thought he was an American senator.
Settler. You really want...
Just reflecting
he's a senator colonialist.
That's right. Just reflecting on, everything I know about him, which was that he loved Israel. And the Jewish people. Yeah. And he just loved to kill, just kill. He was here in Israel often. He understood the importance of the US-Israel partnership. He will be sorely missed. Oh, man. There's a fate to me that's worse than death, and that's being lauded by a bunch of the most bloodthirsty people on the face of the earth, where they're all just like, oh man, not that guy. I loved that guy,
right?
Says the literal devil.
Speaking of which.
Yes.
Sarah and I grieve with the American people over the loss of our dear friend, Senator Lindsey Graham. We don't actually need to read this entire thing because we've got Netanyahu's video interview, right. But I will read. In our recent meeting, I said, Lindsey is a great friend of Israel and a cherished friend of mine. We have no better friend than Lindsey. What a friend we have in Lindsey. I don't really know the hymn, but yeah. He's the true friend.
That's right.
So here's Netanyahu telling a very telling story about Lindsey Graham in the video.
But let me tell you, the last conversation I had with him, I said, Lindsey, we've come of age. We have a robust economy. We can take care of our own financing our own weapons for the defense of Israel and defense of our common interests with America. So I'm going to phase out the military support for Israel over a period of years and bring it down to zero.
200 years.
Yeah. And he went ballistic.
Okay, pause.
Yeah,
Sorry. He went
ballistic.
What? He went nuclear.
Yeah.
He went
Maybe that's why he died. I think that's why he died.
His warhead exploded.
Yeah, he blasted.
He so badly wanted to send weapons to Israel that it killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
I refused to.
Take my blood. Take it. How you gonna bake your matzah without my blood? That's never as
some people want to donate their organs to science. He wanted to donate his blood to the matzah factory.
He's just taking every anti-Semitic trope and he's like, no, that's good. I want you to have my blood. Who's gonna control my bank if you guys don't take my money? Oh my God. Let's hear the rest.
You can't do that because he was so concerned with our security, which he believed was your security, that he actually fought the Prime Minister of Israel on keeping America's aid or actually increasing it. And that tells you what kind of a person this extraordinary
It really does.
Yes,
Extraordinary
a
Tell us.
masochist, dude.
It
That's
really
what that's
tells us.
called. That's so insane.
Well, but you know who that reminds me of course, speaking of an American senator
Mhm.
whose lifeblood is about Israel, arguing with a bloodthirsty Israeli Likudnik
That's
that
right.
they should be more bloodthirsty, Joseph Robinette Biden
That's
telling
right.
Menachem Begin that
Yeah.
they should be bombing women and children in Lebanon, and
Yeah.
Begin having to say, whoa, whoa, hold
Yeah,
on,
calm
sir,
down,
we
buddy."
have standards. We're a moral country.
Yeah,
This happened in 1983, I think.
Damn, that means that Lindsey Graham could have been president.
He could have been.
Damn, that's
I
too
mean, he
bad.
was young enough for it.
Yeah.
He
Speaking
was just
of,
coming into his prime.
that's right. He was just a boy. His life had only just started.
He was only a boy.
Yeah. He was only 78 years old.
71. But yeah,
Was he 71?
he was 71.
Oh.
Yeah. That's depressing to me. He's only 20 years older than me. I'm
Yeah. Well,
this is getting into very disturbing
look,
territory for
you
me.
look better than him. Did
I
you
do,
see?
but for how long?
Both he and Netanyahu look like they're like, oh no, my human skin mask isn't working as well as it used to.
That's right.
He also was eulogized by someone who's worse than Netanyahu, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Itamar Ben-Gvir. Today, Israel has lost one of his greatest friends. Senator Lindsey Graham stood with Israel not because it was easy, but because he believed it was right. His unwavering support, blah, 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 blah. May his memory be a blessing. Then there's just some, oh, well, here's Kamala Harris. So a different kind of monster, different kind of ghoul.
That's right.
And this really shows you, my brother put out a really great tweet that one of the, that to Aaron, the most disturbing part of Lindsey Graham's legacy is how he rhymes with the Democrats. The Democrats rhyme with him on foreign policy, everything from Russia, Ukraine
That's
to
right.
Syria to
He
Gaza.
loves all wars, guys. That's
loves all
that was the
wars.
thing. He was like bipartisan when it came to being a war hawk. Which
He was
is,
a DEI war hawk.
Yeah, it is impressive almost to be just like, if there's a war, I am for. Like
But
that's
don't
did he
all
run on that?
liberals- Like all liberals are like that, right? And I think it's this duopoly, like the illusion of the duopoly that I think has been smashed in the last few years, where people are realizing that, hang on a second, the liberals and the conservatives are actually exactly the same, whether that's in Canada or America or the UK, and which is why our own prime minister here in Canada, Carney, tweeted out something equally pathetic, well, actually probably more pathetic than some of these other ones.
He wrote, Senator Lindsey Graham dedicated his life to serving the people of South Carolina and the United States. Throughout his career, he stood resolutely in defense of democracy and freedom. Yes, freedom for bodies to leave, for souls to leave their bodies. Most recently, and particularly with Ukraine and its people. I love most recently.
I can think of some. Yeah,
I can think of a
something
more
a little more recent and
I can think of a
particular.
more recent one, Mark. Ukraine and its people. I offer my condolences to Senator Graham's family, friends, and all those who served alongside
All
him.
those who serviced him,
Yeah, exactly.
to the sex workers of Capitol Hill.
Yes. Oh,
And the fact that he mentioned Ukraine is because Ukraine is the brand, right? It's the Canadian brand is
Of
the
course.
Ukraine
it's
war.
it's a war. It is a war that it is okay to support. It is the liberals' war that it is okay to support, and that's why he's going to say that. Instead, he's not going to touch his position on, obviously on Israel. He's not going to touch his position on Iran. He's not going to talk about how this guy has been cheerleading for a war against Iran for 20-something years. I mean, it is, this pure fucking cowardice. Just, ugh. Kamala Harris wrote, I am saddened to learn of the passing of my former colleague, Senator Lindsey Graham. He was full of wit, but he spelled shit wrong, energy and charm, and he cared deeply.
He was full of wit, energy, charm, sassafras.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And he
Whimsy.
Yes. And he cared deeply about the Senate and the people of South Carolina. Doug and I are sending our thoughts and prayers to his friends and loved ones. Just
And then someone tweeted this. Dan Kervick said this. This is excellent. The death rituals of the imperial U.S. political class are remarkable. Quote unquote. My colleague and I might have disagreed from time to time about which people to exterminate, but in the end, we are all Americans who agree and care deeply about the need to exterminate someone or other. Perfect.
God, that is exactly right.
Yeah.
And
then some just bad shit. Just a kind of we'll do a kind of speed round of just some of the most hilariously batshit takes. Laura Loomer said, you want to read this one?
5 days ago, the IRGC publicly called for Senator Lindsey Graham to be assassinated. He was traveling abroad to a war zone last few days to try to end the war between Ukraine and Russia. He's been home for less than
He's never wanted to end that war. Are you
what are you
kidding
talking
me?
about? End
Him
what?
and Amy Klobuchar were flown over there to tell Zelensky, don't you fucking dare negotiate.
Keep going. Yeah. He's home for less than 1 day, and tonight his staff said he passed away from a, quote, brief and sudden illness. Was he poisoned by a foreign adversary, either abroad or upon returning to the U.S.? There should be an investigation to his death, especially after Iran called for his death less than 1 week ago. You might remember that from when I typed that very sentence above. What do his staff mean by brief and sudden illness? Poison?
Iran did not call for his death a week ago, as far as I know, but Iran did have a very based reaction. There was a news anchor who said something like, congratulations to the residents of hell, whom Lindsey Graham will be joining forthwith, or something like that.
Yeah, there was my favorite tweet, or it was, I guess this was an update from actual Iran news media, the Iranian state TV, who said the anti-Iranian U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham died after seeing he could not overthrow the Iranian nation. He was gay and unmarried, leaving behind no offspring to pollute the world. This was maybe one of the most yeesh. Got him. Jesus Christ.
Don't fucking, Jesus, the worst shit poster in the Western world has nothing
on Iran. They're just so good at it.
Whether it's Legos or just words.
Well, fallen. I was just God damn, dude.
Spitting fire. All right. So here's Sana Ebrahimi Ladene. I have no idea who this is. I've cried for the deaths of only 3 public figures in my entire life.
My God.
You will never guess, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just listening and not looking at the screen, you'll never guess who these 3 people are. Is it Nelson Mandela?
That's right.
Is it Prince? Is it Chris Cornell? Who is it? Right. One, or Jane Goodall? No. Matthew
Chester
Perry.
Bennington.
Matthew Perry, who played my favorite character on Friends. I cried for hours and couldn't bring myself to watch the show again, even though I had already seen it 20 times. Well, first of all, if you've already seen it 20 times, I should hope you can't watch it again. I can't bring myself to watch it once.
Yeah.
But okay, Matthew Perry, sure, you loved the show.
Yeah, fine. That's
Number
fine.
2, let's see, who do we segue to from Matthew Perry? Oh, Charlie Kirk, someone I wasn't even a huge fan of and often disagreed with on a variety of issues, yet watching the video of him being shot hit me incredibly hard. It hit him harder.
It hit him way harder, I gotta say.
Number 3, Lindsey Graham, one of the rare voices in politics who cared about the Iranian people's fight for freedom and stood with us. Once again, we need to prescribe a massive dose of diaspirin for the Iranian diaspora. Going a little nutty out there. Next up, this is Rick Smallbean.
Yeah, first of all, this guy's name is Rick Small, S-M-O-L, which is wild. His name is literally Shmo.
And in the Hebrew lettering, because he's got the Israeli flag and the U.S. flag and some other flag. Maybe it's Argentina.
I think he's got the Argentina flag.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
They do an Argentina dirty.
They
I
really
feel bad
are.
for Argentinians.
Those two are going to be linked forever now.
Oh, it sucks.
But his Israeli name doesn't have the space. It's just Riksmol. It's one word.
Yeah.
Riksmol. Okay. There is no one to say Kaddish for Lindsey Graham. It's true because Allen Ginsberg isn't in hell.
That's great.
That was a deep pull.
Yes, it was.
He had no wife. He had no children. Okay, easy now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. He dedicated his entire
his entire life mostly for us. We are his children.
Wow.
Lindsey loved the Jews more than the Jews loved themselves.
Oh my God.
You know what? That's true, dude. That's true. No one loved the Jews more than Lindsey Graham.
May the Lord protect and defend you. And may my Sabbath prayer. Lindsey, he traveled the world from country to country and fought like a lion for the state of Israel. He was doing some lion, that's true. He wasn't even Jewish himself. He simply believed with all his heart, with all his might, that it was the right thing to do. Now we, the Jewish people, must say Kaddish for him. Kaddish for the greatest righteous among the nations of our time. Perhaps even Kaddish for many of his battles on behalf of the Jews. I wish successors would rise for him, but now the situation in the American Congress is not encouraging, to our regret. We will always remember you, Lindsey. Rest in peace on your bed. We love you. We all love you. Yeah. Signed, me and Matt, the Jewish people.
Oh, fuck. We all signed this card.
God
Just imagine.
You know what happens at work?
At the office.
Someone passes around a birthday card. You don't bother to look at it. You don't realize it's the sexual abuser one floor up. You sign it and then you regret it. And then your signature's on it forever. We didn't mean to.
Shit. I just want to say happy birthday to Carl. I didn't know that he was bombing Iran, dude. That's crazy. Rest in peace on your bed. I love the on your bed part. It's like bed or whatever chair you're tied to during one of your, your little sex forays.
Yeah. Rest in peace in your leather gimp swing.
Come on.
And let's check out what kind of person Lindsey Graham actually was, okay?
Yes.
So this is the last photo of Lindsey Graham to exist. It is Lindsey Graham holding a drone. And when we say holding, this photo was taken yesterday in Ukraine.
Yes.
When we say holding, he's definitely stroking the side of it. Yes. The cylindrical side of it, and he's cupping the underside of it.
That's true.
He's got some techniques. He's cupping the balls.
Dude, this is like a military grade fleshlight.
He's holding it to completion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, just in case you were wondering what kind of guy he was, this is the type of shot he takes.
And just in case that's not enough, a reminder what kind of guy he was, here is a video or two of him, really standing for human rights and democracy worldwide.
So when we were faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose and work with them to minimize casualties. Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
When the Meet the Press person on NBC is desperately trying to cut in to get you to slow down and tone down the genocidal language, you're really determined. He really wanted it.
Yeah, it is wild. All of these stories are now coming out too. Now that he's dead, people who were his sex workers that he hired are now all spilling these stories.
Oh, they are, huh?
I want to read one real quick because I just thought it was a fascinating look into this other life. He wrote this is. James is smiling, wrote, just woke up to find out Lindsey Graham is dead. Lol. Most of you know him as the homophobic senator from South Carolina, but to me, he will always be the man who paid a Twinkie pre-transition college student, me.
Twinkie with a Y, not the snack.
Yeah. A fat stack of cash to do unspeakable things to him in a hotel room while he wore red lingerie. It is a canon trans event to have far right freaks bankrolling you and then turning around and voting against you. People love to judge us for it, but I never see them opening their wallet. Shout out to sex workers everywhere forced to humanize their enemies just to make rent. It is an absolute mindfuck to me that one of the reasons I have any semblance of financial security and a lack of student loans is because of this man. At the time, I had no idea who he was, and I only figured it out because another group of twinks leaked Lady G to the media. Some queers tried to grandstand and critique this, but saying we shouldn't, quote, out people. I believe bigots with power deserve no peace or privacy, especially when they hold public office. I'm glad they did it. Icons forever. Anyways, if you've ever enjoyed what I do on the internet, know that it is in part because of Lindsey's generous donation over a decade ago. If I ever sent you money for something, know that was kickstarted by the now deceased sissy senator from South Carolina. Lindsey, rest in hell for what you did to our community. I will continue to love queer and trans people harder than you ever hated us. You loved every second of our time together. Now everyone knows. Kisses. I'm just floored by the fact that like he was such an obvious like just trope, like a Hollywood trope that is like he was a living, breathing, hackneyed premise.
Yeah.
You know? Like the fact that he was this
with hackneyed psychology, like
Yes.
you suppress your sensitivity, you suppress your vulnerability, you try to be all butch when in fact what you want to be is a show tune singing little
Yes.
boy. You succumb to toxic masculinity and try to rise in the halls of power, and you mix that with white racism, and what you end up with is this cardboard cutout villain.
Yeah, yeah. And just to, you know, we got to move on, but just to acknowledge him, I just, you know, it's a moment of just reflection. I want to sing a little song for you. I heard there was a secret gay who made you sign an NDA. They're both expired, so you know it's true, yeah. Well, it goes like this. He'd pay for dick, and then he'd go to the Senate, and once screwed, he would vote to fucking screw ya. Lady G, yeah. Lady G, yeah.
All right, I'm going to repeal or give an exemption to my no more covers of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah policy. That was great.
Good. Thank you. I have more verses, but I'm not going to do them. We don't have the time.
Yeah.
We need to move on to our next subject.
And I think we should probably take a break before that.
Let's do that. So everyone, please stick around and just, you know, think about all the verses you didn't hear, and we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Holla Palestine. That's right, guys. We finally did it. We got an ad. And I'm very excited about this one because this is a great company. The people of Palestine have been making soap the same way for generations, and usually using just olive oil, baking soda, and water. In Nablus, home to one of the world's first known soap factories, they make this exact soap, the Al Jamal, the camel. And I was sent this one, and as well as others from.
Look at that.
Yeah, isn't this nice? This is from Hala Palestine. This is the Nablus pure olive oil soap, and this is another one of theirs with the if you see there, it's got the keys on it. It's really, really cool. And I was also sent this beautiful keffiyeh by today's sponsor, Hala Palestine.
Holla. Yeah, and I believe I've been sent some of that as well, but I will receive it when I get home in a few weeks because I'm out on the road right now. But I'm grateful and excited to sample these wares. So Hala Palestine is an online store where you can get all kinds of Palestinian crafts, clothing, and traditionally produced olive oil soaps, all handmade in Palestine and delivered to your door. And that keffiyeh that they sent you, Matt, it's woven in Palestine, not some factory overseas. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to see you wearing it in
yes, I will.
The streets.
I will wear it, but I wanted to wait until we recorded the ad to show it, just because it just comes in this nice package, and because it's it's got a little printout of where it was made, how it was made, and just it's nice to. I wanted to do the unboxing here on the ad.
Well, then rip it open while I read the next few sentences.
Yeah, you go ahead.
When I'm choosing anything like this, products from the region, products displaying Palestinian culture, it's especially important. I want to know that my purchase supports Palestinian artisans and their families, not just companies trying to make a buck off the Palestinian struggle or Palestinian identity or Palestinian iconography or whatever. And at Hala Palestine, we know full well that our purchases are doing just that. They're supporting actual Palestinian artisans and their families.
That's right.
So you can feel good about shopping with them.
That's right. And in Arabic, hala means welcome. And that's the feeling I get from these, great pieces that Hala Palestine sent me. This is the beautiful keffiyeh. I love this so much. This material is just incredibly soft. And, of course, I love the design, the trees. It's beautiful. And, just the feel of it is nice.
And speaking of welcome, when we were in Jordan, the hospitality of our Palestinian hosts was so much, and they literally say when you're meeting someone, they'll say you are welcome.
Yes, they do. They do. And like
you haven't thanked them for anything, but they're just letting you know you are welcome.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So you can get a 10% discount, on any of the great products at halapalestine.com with the offer code BADHASBARA.
That's right.
You can feel good about where your money's going when you shop at halapalestine.com. I think I almost said chala. It's hala.
Ha.
They taught us how to say that H when we were there.
That's
too.
Right. They tried to un-cha, they're like get that goddamn cha out of there. Stop putting chas and stuff.
They said, imagine opening a can of soda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hala Palestine. Yes. There it is. And use the code BADHASBARA. That's HALA Palestine.com. Offer code BADHASBARA for 10% off.
Thank you so much to Hala Palestine for this beautiful keffiyeh and for the soaps. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
And we're back. This is Bad Hasbara, the world's most moral podcast.
That's right.
Here with my co-host Matt Lieb and our special guest, Dr. Sabreena. How you doing? Are you enjoying yourself so far? We're moving at a pretty fast clip.
Yeah, look at us.
Everything.
Let's go.
Any car sickness at all? Or you along for the bumpy ride?
I love that you're quarterbacking. I'm on a lot of Dayquil. My daughter got me sick, and I'm still struggling with my.
Where's your "Because My Daughter" T-shirt?
I know, but it's she got me sick, and then she ruins my brain, and then I have to take a bunch of Dayquil.
And so I have to do your job today, and it's not easy keeping things going. I'm gaining a whole new respect for you, man.
Exactly. Finally, a new respect for me, aka ever having respect for me. Respect me.
I'm experiencing respect for you. It's an interesting new feeling.
I gotta give a big shout out to Dayquil for helping me write the lyrics to that Leonard Cohen song. I was like, that's what I'll work on for today's episode. Anyways. Brad Lander
went on CNN, and I'm glad that we have these clips to watch because this will segue nicely to something you mentioned, Sabreena, which is your history being anything but anti-Semitic. In fact, co-founding a chapter of Shalom Salam, which I believe was a women's dialogue group for Jews and Arabs or Jews and Palestinians?
Anti-hate kind of advocacy group, so it was quite active.
That sounds eminently inoffensive. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll play these Brad Lander clips, both because he calls himself a liberal Zionist, but especially, and we can have our conversation about that. But we generally like Brad Lander around here for the role he plays and his function. We tend to focus on counter-Hezbollah function rather than ideological purity. And when you see him talking to Dana Bash, who's one of the most rigid gatekeepers of Zionist orthodoxy in the mainstream media, the most ideologically committed, like she's not just doing her job. She's fulfilling her mission on earth. You'll see what happens when his view of the world comes up against hers. She can't even fathom it. But tell us a little bit about that group and what you discovered about the ways that liberal Zionism insinuates itself and it places serious barriers on what can be said.
So in some ways, I will say that, my role as co-founder of Sisterhood of Shalom was like the starting point of what became the death of liberalism for me and, and my belief in liberalism. Because I too, like other kind of well-intentioned anti hate, anti-racism, anti-oppression scholars and people doing this work, liberalism and the liberal framework provides us with not just like ideology, but praxis, right? Like, how do we, through politics and through policy, improve the lives of people who are marginalized? So the liberal framework is supposed to be our tool to advance change. So I did fall, I fell into the liberalism trap, and I know you said that you like him, and I probably old me would have liked him too. But now I'm a very big critic of liberalism, and I actually say that the dismantlement of Israel is actually premised on the death of liberalism, not conservatism, because what's upholding it is not the extreme right. It's not the Lindsey Graham types that's upholding this system. It's liberals who are actually upholding that system, right? They provide us with that. They pacify us with liberal language and hope. Obama's great, hope and change kind of speech. So,
I wonder if the liberalism forms the beams and the struts, but the conservatism fortifies it and covers it in concrete. And
absolutely. And that's a great analogy. And that's why I always say that it's like they work together. I mean, the tweet that I wrote yesterday in response to Lindsey Graham dying was that, when all these politicians around the world are eulogizing someone who supposedly has completely different politics to them, morally on a completely different plane, if they are with such rigor, eulogizing them as though they're talking about some colleague they've worked with in the same company all their lives, then maybe we should take the hint that they are working in the same company and for the same boss.
Yeah, when people tell you who they mourn, believe them.
Exactly, right? So anyway, going back to Sisterhood of Salam Shalom, it was, for me, a very liberal faith washing kind of effort. And, since my time there, I've been talking a lot more about faith washing, which is basically like, this whole interfaith kumbaya, let's hold hands, let's fight hate with love, let's Jews and Muslims hold hands. The reason why there's a problem in that is it basically perpetuates this false narrative that this is a war between Muslims and Jews.
Right. And if only they could get together.
If Muslims and Jews worked together and held hands and there was this interfaith solidarity, then we wouldn't have a problem.
Then we could end the thousands-year cultural civilizational struggle, which has nothing to do with anything that happened in the past 100 years. Nothing material.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thousands of years of being natural enemies, according to the news. Yeah.
Right. Such enemies that they would celebrate festivals, post Passover together, Mimuna, that the Muslims would take care of Jewish properties when, never mind. We all know this.
And I'm glad you're mentioning this, actually, because this reminds me a lot of, what I often compare the colonization of Palestine to, and I'm talking about the British colonization of India, right? And the over 150 million Indians who have been killed in those years that the British colonized India. And again, there was this like narrative with partition, because when India and Pakistan when Pakistan was created and there was a partition and millions of people were killed, there was this false notion that Hindus and Muslims are fighting amongst each other, and if only they could just get along and not hate each other, then there would be peace in that region, when really it was the British who stoked that hate and caught exactly how in 1936 the British created this mess and then bounced out. So I think that groups like Sisterhood of Salam Shalom, well-meaning, I don't think every person who's in that group is some evil, caricature who's trying to like sway people in the wrong direction. I think they mean well, but it ends up being controlled opposition, just like liberals. It ends up really not moving the needle forward at all. And but it helped me understand things that I didn't back then. So I had never heard of this term liberal Zionist or pro-Palestine Zionist. I'd never met one before. And I remember when I was in that group, there was this girl and she was like, I'm a pro-Palestine Zionist. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. How does that work? So she was the type to advocate for, less evil colonization.
Right.
It's like, can we just occupy them but not hurt them so much?
You know that phrase that Zionists use to talk about, queer people aligning themselves with Palestine, chickens for KFC. Right, liberal Zionist is functionally McDonald's executives for KFC.
Right. Yeah.
Or Burger King executives for KFC. Like it's your competition.
Right.
Yeah, and then there were like interesting things that happened. I remember there was this one moment that really alerted me to the fact that, liberal Zionist women or Zionist women actually function like white women, right? And there was this moment where I remember there was a meeting, we were all together, something had happened where Palestinians had gotten hurt because of one of the many incidences that take place, right? And all of a sudden, this white, blonde Zionist woman spent 30 minutes of that meeting crying and talking about her feelings. And all of a sudden, the attention was on her and her feelings and how empathetic she is as an Israeli, because she was actually from Israel. And she sucked up all the energy in that room, and I remember at that time looking at her because I'm a race scholar. So I've been talking about white women's tears and how white women's tears have functioned to harm Black, men and boys, historically. I was like, whoa. This is very similar to that situation. So I learned a lot in that role, but I stepped away. So did my Jewish co-founder, because we saw the space being co-opted by Zionists to kind of have this like false, where they almost tried to show that this was enough. Right? Like that Muslims and Jews holding hands and having articles written about us was enough. And that's all that was needed.
Yeah. Well, speaking of enough, I feel like the organization we need at this point is not salam, shalom, but like khalas must speak, like enough already, like fucking enough already. So when it comes to liberal Zionists, and we're going to transition to looking at Brad Lander's conversation with Dana Bash, because you say you're very critical of liberalism. So am I. Very critical of liberal Zionism. Absolutely, so am I. So is Matt. We come out of that world. We know its limitations. And you talked about the co-optation of it in the space of the peace world. What's interesting with Brad Lander, and is that, again, I'm interested in people's function, and function is different in different spaces.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about liberal Zionist function in both people like Brad Lander and people like Tucker Carlson. Both of them are essentially liberal Zionists. I mean, if you look at Tucker's positions, whenever he is talking about Zionism, he avoids talking about whether or not Israel has the right to exist and whatnot. It's sort of he's very much in that more liberal Zionist camp, and it's just like Tucker. We're going to talk about a liberal Zionist not as someone that we praise for their bravery or whatnot, but for their specific function and who exactly they are for. It's counter Hezbollah, and that's what we talk about.
And so Brad Lander has performed that function, I think, quite knowingly and with a good degree of chutzpah, I think, and effectiveness when he ran interference. When there he is sitting next to Mamdani, his buddy, who he's lost to, and he's endorsing him, and Stephen Colbert is interviewing both of them, and he's putting completely bad faith, racist questions to Mamdani about, will you accept Israel's right to exist? Will you condemn Hamas or whatever it was? And Lander just steps right in. He's like, nah, you're not doing that to my boy. So he has that function. He also has the function of saying things that go quite beyond what a lot of liberal Zionists are willing to say, while not disclaiming his liberal Zionism. He'll still call himself one, and as he'll do in this interview, but he will include words that most liberal Zionists are completely loath to say, like apartheid, genocide, and pointing out the contradiction between Jewish and democratic when it comes to Israel. And a lot of liberal Zionists want to claim that it is a Jewish and democratic state. Brad Lander's saying, I wish it was. Now, I would say to him, you're wishing for La La Land, because those two things can't coexist. But at least he's admitting that it's currently not.
True.
So let's take a look at this. And what I want us to pay attention to especially is not so much Brad, but Dana. Because Dana here...
I've never seen a more confused white woman in my life.
We're a couple of minutes away from some serious white woman tears of deep confusion and perplexity.
Yeah, here we go.
You call yourself a liberal Zionist. What is a liberal Zionist?
I believe in the vision of a Jewish and democratic Israel. I care about the place, but I don't think it's possible for it to be democratic while it's occupying the West Bank and Gaza. And I don't think that Israel's conduct in Gaza, which I do consider a genocide, is consistent with Jewish values. So to me, it's like you stand up and you call it as you see it. I don't want to keep sending U.S. military aid to Israel while it's violating international law and Palestinian human rights, but I want it to actually honor international law and Palestinian human rights so it can be the Jewish and democratic Israel that I grew up believing in.
Just the face that she has there. Wait a second. Hold on.
Right. So again, I don't think it ever can be the Israel you grew up believing in, Brad, because the Israel you grew up believing in is a fantasy.
Right.
That said, what he's acknowledging there to Zionist CNN propagandist in chief Dana Bash is, or maybe second in command to Jake Tapper, or maybe they're the dynamic duo. Are some things that are just way beyond her ability to comprehend, as we'll see in the following clips.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. You said that you don't think it's a democratic Israel?
I want it to be a Jewish and democratic Israel. Right now, I don't think it's modeling democracy while it occupies the West Bank and Gaza, and half the people under its sovereignty can't vote. But I believe that when occupation ends,
look at her body language.
It can be Jewish and democratic, and that's what I'm fighting for.
Why are you not just a Zionist? Why do you say liberal Zionist?
Why are you the way that you are?
Why?
But you know what? She's actually asking, I think, a good question here, which is, this distinction that you're making is useful for whom? It's only useful for Brad and maybe the people that he's trying to talk to, which is other liberal Zionists
who are on the verge of
who can't, who want to find a way to still believe in the fantasy of Israel, but also critique the actual occupation that they see, which is. This is pre-October 7th standard liberal Zionism, to be clear. But
that's true.
What do you think the difference is?
I mean, the Declaration of Independence that founded Israel says it would be a place for the ingathering of exiles and full civil and political rights for everyone living there. But Palestinians living in the West Bank facing settler terrorism...
And we care about those rights so much that we will not enshrine them in a constitution.
That's right. No, it's just for the Declaration of Independence.
Refugee camps in Gaza, because their schools and hospitals were destroyed, they don't have full political and civil rights. So it is not living up to its founding vision. And to me, believing in Jewish and democratic means you got to fight for the human rights of Palestinians at the same time as you fight for the safety of Jews. I guess maybe a shorthand way of saying it is, I don't think Israelis will be safe until Palestinians are free, and they both need that.
Right. So that's such a disappointing turn always. Go ahead, Sabreena. I know you have things to say.
I was just going to say that last part of the interview is where, I want us to focus on this perpetuation of the tropes, right? That war on terror trope that I said that is used, that's so convenient for Israel, that when he says Israelis cannot ever truly be safe until Palestinians are free, on the surface, it sounds like he's saying such a good thing. Palestine should be free. Palestinians should be free. But what he's saying is that it's really about Israelis being safe because Palestinians are inherently terrorists or violent people, and them being, us oppressing them or us occupying them makes them really violent, like caged animals. And, in order for us to be safe, we need to free them.
It's the in order to part. It's now Palestinian freedom and basic human rights are a means to an end. Like imagine going to the Museum for Human Rights and seeing, an exhibit about the genocide of Indigenous Canadians. And the takeaway, the last panel is, white Canadians will never be safe until we do more land acknowledgments.
Yeah.
And that's what we're supposed to be motivated by.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hear what you're saying. I also think that it's sort of depends on who the audience is, and this is where I always struggle with people like Lander, where I see him as someone who is trying to talk to essentially the parents, the Jewish parents of anti-Zionist kids in the room, and trying to get through to them in a way in which their feelings are taken into account, which means always pandering to the fact that the most important thing here is the safety of Israelis, and always, in terms of order of operations, it leads to talking about how Israelis are the priority.
He's kind of on Peter Beinart's wavelength 15 years ago.
Right. And this is the problem that I have with Lander. On the one hand, I appreciate Counter Hasbara, because I think it is important to, the last 3 years, the Hasbara, the meter on like what is the way to talk about Israel has moved so far Zionist that him saying liberal Zionist shit from 3 years ago, from before October 7th, is considered radical to people. That people are like, wow, he's talking about the occupation. Like that used to be like standard fucking boilerplate liberal Zionism. But I do think there is some function in the fact that he's talking about. The problem I have is that he is going to be voting, is that he is someone who has power. And I would say to Brad Lander something like, I kind of see where this is going for you, not unlike Peter Beinart, where you are going to continue realizing that you can't see the things you've seen. You can't unlearn the things you've learned.
You can't be in community with the people you're in community with. Brad Lander goes to JFREG events. He talks to massive crowds of anti-Zionists in New York City. That's who he hangs out with. He seems very comfortable in those spaces, and they've been remarkably welcoming of him, and some Palestinian activists have been as well.
I think, Matt, you made a really good point when you said that, he's talking to the parents of, right? Like of people. He's essentially like a politician for the uncles and aunties, right? Like the Facebook crowd. That's who he speaks to. But what's been proven, like especially with what we've seen with New York politics and the people who have won, the really, radical, like compared to him, there's a reason why he lost, right? And there's a reason why even some of the recent wins have been people who are quite radical. Like, I mean, one of them, I've forgotten her name, but wasn't she like arrested at one of the campuses?
Yeah, probably
right? Like
Daria Lisa Chevalier or Claire Valdez.
Yeah.
Let's be clear though, Brad Lander did beat Dan Goldman, in the recent primary.
The very Zionist. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's, he lost the mayoral election, but he's, he beat out a far, far worse.
Yes.
I just don't think that his politics reflects the current public sentiment.
No, it's behind the times.
That's
for sure.
I feel like he's behind the times, and I think what we're seeing in New York, this kind of like shift, is the people have spoken, and they have proven that they are more radical in their thinking. Like they are more revolutionary in their thinking. Like even the fact that he had to say, what I believe to be genocide. Like the fact that he had to say that as opposed to what, every human rights organization in the last 3 years has described as genocide. Some of this language, and I am in the business of language, right? So I pick up on these things, narratives and narrative building and narrative making, and the ordinary layperson might not pick up on these things, but this all becomes part of your psychological kind of manipulation or, understanding of things. So that's why I find people like him to actually be controlled opposition. And I do understand the functionality of people like him. So I empathize with that position, but we get further away from freedom, democracy, revolution because of people like him.
Yeah, and just to finish what I was saying, I would say that because of the fact that I see him as he's going to continue, I think, being on this journey of realizing that, like, what am I doing holding on to Zionism as if it is something that can be fixed, holding on to this idea of a Jewish state that is, it's an ethno-nationalist state. There's no changing that if you are still holding on to a belief in Zionism. I think he's going to continue changing that. And I say, well, you're in power now, which means that you cannot vote like a liberal Zionist. And, you are going to sorely regret the time that you spent, pushing for this middle of the road idea. And in terms of like controlled opposition, this is also my fear about just liberal Zionist talking points in general, especially with Rahm Emanuel coming out, and they've unveiled sort of Hezbollah 2.0, and that's what concerns me a little bit, is the fact that like people like Dana Bash are, yes, psychopaths. People like Jake Tapper are psychopaths, but they are also so out of touch with the normal public sentiment when it comes to this issue that it's almost beneficial for them to be so out of touch, where people can really see that you just cannot trust these news outlets. And what I worry about is a more sly hand of Hezbollah. At the same time, I do acknowledge the incredibly important function, at least in my opinion, as someone who's got this very narrow lane of talking about, the Hezbollah's seeping into the culture. And I do think that it's functionally important for older libs who are finally coming around to the idea that Jews can commit genocide. I know we seem like we can't, to at the very least have somebody who is admitting to that.
3 years into a genocide, though, Matt. Like,
I mean,
this is where I like.
I mean, I guess for me, I look at it as like there's not a wrong time for people to come around to the issue, and it should they have to live with themselves after realizing, yes, this is a genocide. I'd rather they come around to it than not. And so I will judge them for the fact that they're like, now I say it's a genocide. Of course I'll judge them for that. But in a media landscape in which they make it possible for you to live in an alternate reality where genocide never happened, everything was justified, those babies never died. Anyone who is able to break out of that in some aspect, I will always support people learning. But that doesn't mean I won't judge them for the fact that it took this long.
Well, I'm glad I'm really glad we covered this, because I wanted to cover this as sort of, let's look at Dana Bash be uncomfortable. But Sabreena, I appreciate you bringing a more critical lens. And, so consider this our Bradlander call-in segment on this. You can call him out. We're calling him in because we want better from him.
Well, it's a Lander acknowledgement.
It's a Lander acknowledgement. Hey!
That was very good.
10 out of 10. That brings it all together.
NyQuil or Dayquil. It's Dayquil and NyQuil's last.
I like you on these sedatives. They
Sedative? Sorry, that's
Dayquil keeps you awake, right?
Yes.
All right, one more thing to get to, and this is a big deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do it justice in the time we have, but here's a politician who's going further than homilies, going further than platitudes, going further than vague wishes for some abstract fantasy to be kept alive that is not even on life support anymore, that's completely dead. We're talking about Ro Khanna going with two friends of the show, Cam Caskey and Jasper Nathaniel, and allowing himself to be led into the heart of darkness, into the West Bank itself, and getting a taste, a little taste of what occupation looks like. Although even as he'll admit, it's the most privileged and mild taste, filtered through the fact that he's an American and has a lot of power. So here's what he tweeted over the weekend. Israeli settlers brandishing American-made M4s detained me and other Americans on my trip to Palestine. When the IDF arrived, they cited with the settlers and continued our detention. They made a huge mistake. You will be hearing more soon. And he linked to a New York Times piece that we'll take a quick look at in a second. But first, let's watch a little video from Ro Khanna describing what happened to him.
I saw the arrogance in the eyes of those settlers, 21 and 22-year-olds with guns, laughing that they had detained us. The arrogance of those young IDF soldiers that my tax dollars are funding, having no respect for the fact that they were detaining Americans, no respect that there was an American congressperson in that bus, and laughing when our translator told them that there are Americans there and the American embassy is concerned. It is the arrogance of power, of a power that has had no accountability, total impunity, and has created a toxic culture of oppression.
So, the New York Times headline, an American politician is blocked by Israeli settlers in the West Bank.
Oh,
blocked?
no. Yeah, they boxed him out. What is this, fucking basketball?
Yeah.
Israeli settlers are the fucking Hakeem Olajuwon of blocking people from going to the West Bank.
An American politician is denied at the rim by,
exactly.
by
Just
Israeli settlers in the West Bank.
wagging a finger at him.
Mm-hmm. Goaltending call disputed.
Yeah.
by the ICJ. Representative Ro Khanna was barred from leaving for 90 minutes. From leaving where? Where past U.S. leaders toured the region, and this is where they want the article to go. We're not going to get into it, we don't have time. But where past U.S. leaders toured the region to show support for Israel, today's Democratic presidential aspirants are going to bolster their credentials as critics. So there's this thread, this sneaky, smarmy thread underlying all of it, which supports, if doesn't come out and exactly say, that this is all a stunt. Now, they're pointing to what we've been pointing to, which is that both in terms of electability and Hasbara 2.0, and they mentioned the Rahm Emanuel Tel Aviv speech, which we covered on our Patreon episode last week, in the article as consistent with this, right? I think what Ro Khanna was doing was something significantly beyond that. He went into the West Bank with two prominent protective presence journalists, Cam Kasky and Jasper Nathaniel, and interviewed Palestinians and all of this. But the New York Times wants you to know that this is
that anti-Semitism is happening.
Anti-Semitism is happening.
Yeah, right.
Or at least cynical political maneuvering. So next, and we're going to get into some of the takes here. So, by the way, Netanyahu denied it, said that it was just a bunch of hoodlums. It was there's 100 juvenile delinquents and so on and so forth. There were all kinds of claims. The IDF claimed that the army showed up first, right? And witnesses
I love that Israel gets to do this thing where they're just like, oh, there's just 100 of these, these youth hoodlum gangs, in the West Bank, and there's and they cause all the trouble, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like we can arrest them. I mean, they're the ones who have civil rights, as opposed to the Palestinians who are literally living under military control, can be arrested and held on administrative detention for absolutely no fucking reason. But then they're just like, I don't know what to do about this 100 or so hilltop youth gang.
We don't know where they go at night, and we can't well surveil them or bust into their encampments and grab them.
But also, not to mention that they are actually funded to be there.
Of course, they are
paid to be there,
it's supported by the government. I mean, it is
plucked out of the foster care system very conveniently.
Yeah, it is just such a bold lie where they have to live with all of these different conflicting narratives of like everyone's got rights, but also we're allowed to arrest any Palestinian we want, but also we can't do that to our settlers because what are we, some theocratic monarchy like fucking. Like, what are we, Iran?
What is this, a police state?
What is this, a police state?
What is this, an occupation?
We're a democratic, country. And then they just constant lies. It's insane.
So, of course, the Israeli army lied about it. Netanyahu lied about it on Meet the Press. Ro Khanna went on Meet the Press and to his credit said, no, they're lying. That's not what happened. Here's Emily Schrader U.S. Representative Ro Khanna is a charlatan and dishonest. His tour was halted on the bus because they entered a CMZ, closed military zone. The closed military zones, which also include things like Palestinians' schools. They can show up one day and find out that their school or their home is a closed military zone. Closed military zone was used as part of the Nakba to say your entire village is now a closed military zone. Sorry, you can't come back to your homes, which is prohibited due to safety to civilians. Police were called in to discuss the problem with the tour organizer, who had repeatedly attempted to enter the CMZ in the past as well. And again, eyewitnesses have confirmed this is a complete lie. It's not the police who arrived first. It was this vigilante settler group and then when the police and the army did arrive, they sided with them. The bus had to wait until the arrival of the soldiers to the scene, which is what caused the delay. It was not a detainment. No one was arrested. Police stated they have already viewed the body cam footage of police at the scene, confirming this account. Well, good.
Yeah.
Body
Thank
cam.
God. Thank God,
That always clears everything up.
Yes.
The tour participants were also briefed and then continued on their way. Much like Rahm Emanuel, this is another example of a propagandist who behaves as if he is paid by America's enemies, intentionally orchestrating a scene to provoke attention and whine about Israel. Ro Khanna, you are truly pathetic.
Thank you, Emily. Emily, by the way, your friends and family in West LA want you back. Come back.
You have the right of return.
You have the right of return to Santa Monica or wherever. Like, the most not from here motherfucker in the world is just like, I've got Arabic and Hebrew in my name. Cool.
Oh, wow, I never noticed that.
That's her new thing. She's she's trying to bring both cultures together, Sabreena.
That's a salam shalom ass.
Yes. She's doing salam shalom. Oh, shit. Oh, man.
She can cry in all three languages.
That's right.
Nadav Wyman says, I was there with Representative Khanna as an expert on settler violence, and armed settlers were the first to arrive. And then, as has become the norm, Israeli soldiers joined them. Together, they detained the delegation for over an hour. The IDF is lying, and not for the first time. That's who I was referring to before. Mm-hmm. Then we have some more excellent Hasbara takes on this. The New York Post, of course. Ro Khanna blew off an offer to meet former Israeli hostages, October 7th survivors, on his, quote, campaign trip.
I love that.
Says a source.
He blew them off, not unlike Hamas did on October 7th.
Blowing off, it's one step removed from blowing up.
That's right. Exactly. They just can't stop doing it.
Now, Ro Khanna, of course, responded to this. Sorry, we don't have that one, but he basically said, excuse me, I've met with them on previous trips.
Right, yeah.
Like Elon Levy tried to own him, being like, a few years ago, he was supporting Israel. Yeah, he's evolved. Yeah. He's been there several times. He's toured the kibbutzes, I believe. He's spoken to October 7th victims. He's done that part of the work. And all the people taking him to task for doing this would never do what he's doing. All the people saying it's not balanced. I'll show you a video later from Democratic Majority for Israel, which takes this tack, which is hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Congressman Greg Murphy, one of his colleagues, sounds like another plea for publicity. Anything to get in front of the camera. Why else would you be there? It isn't your country. Guess what? It's not Israel's country either. It's the West Bank.
I love that you can just do that. You can just be like, this isn't your country. What are you doing? Why aren't you in America? But also you're allowed to ask them like, hey, when you get elected, what is the first country you're going to visit? It's got to be Israel or you're going to jail.
Yeah, I'm sure when Uncle Lindsey or Auntie Lindsey went to Ukraine with Amy Klobuchar, Senator Murphy or Congressman Murphy was very quick to be like, get back here. Ukraine's not your country.
Right, exactly. What are you doing in Ukraine? No, it's like you're just allowed to bring out, what are you even doing there if it's for the sake of showcasing, Palestinians' human rights being abused. But if it's to show Israel being a wonderful, democracy that dances, it's just like, wow, it's really good that you did this. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, someone else came out and said he should have gone to the nightclubs. We'll see that in a second. Any comments so far, Sabreena, on this?
I mean, when I watched the whole thing unfold, the first thing that came to my mind was that a lot of the reason why he was treated the way he was treated was because he was brown and he is looked down upon. You know, Israelis are deeply racist. And
even the brown ones.
I mean, there is just like a system, and they've been within this system, this very racial kind of oppressive system for so long that there is no other way for them to look at people. And to them, but the thing that I had tweeted was that they probably didn't even think he was American, let alone an American senator. Now I'm pulling a Daniel.
You guys are both doing it. You're not even on Dayquil. You guys are just Freudian
maybe Senator Colonialism needs to be this episode.
Yeah.
So that had a lot to do with. So when I read his tweet where it said you made a huge mistake, a part of me was like, brother, you.
Yeah.
You're not going to get what you think you're going to get from this. You know, it's like you made a huge mistake. You're going to watch what my American colleagues are going to do to you. No, your American colleagues don't give a shit.
They would literally let you die there.
Yes.
Like, no joke, the amount of pushing that had to be done by, it was Jasper, right? Who was able to get one American citizen Palestinian, a Palestinian American, out of administrative detention. It took like months of effort.
Of his mom calling their senator.
Yes. And
his nice, older, kindly mother.
And all it does is remind you that, like, if you are there, even as an American citizen, even as an American, lawmaker, and they decide something's going to happen to you, nothing will be done.
That's right.
So
now, I think hopefully what he meant, you'll be sorry for this, because he intimated this in other interviews. He said, look, this is, you should think twice before you detain long shot presidential candidates.
Oh, yeah.
He said that about himself. And he said, I'm going to go into every community in America, working class communities, urban communities, and I'm going to tell them what I saw here. And I'm going to tell them about the Palestinian stories I saw. And so, to give him credit, I think that's what he means when he says, you're going to be sorry. But certainly he's not going to get, I haven't seen any of his Democratic colleagues speak up about this, come to think of it.
They've been too busy like mourning Lindsey Graham.
That's right. Yeah, they just have to think about the world's most horniest war criminal who died suddenly.
They don't give a shit about Ro Khanna and what he's gone through.
In fact, they probably killed Lindsey Graham so they wouldn't have to talk about it.
In fact, Lindsey Graham probably volunteered to get killed so that they wouldn't be able to talk about it. Take me.
Take
he
me. That
ballistic. He went ballistic.
That way you get one more day of coverage that's not about you. Please. That is probably true.
Some more crazy attacks on Ro Khanna. David Marcus says, and these are all such incredible self-owns in different ways. We talk about the unoriginality of Hasbarists. I have to say, in cases like this, where something completely breaks containment and surprises people and is outside the box, they're not prepared. Everyone goes rogue and comes up with their completely own bespoke thing. It's like, this is where their creativity comes out, because we're going to see each of these is completely off the wall in its own way. Blue Box Dave says, how would the U.S. react if a member of the Israeli Knesset illegally broke into an ICE facility to interview detainees? Because that's pretty much what Khanna did here. Okay, so now you're admitting that the West Bank is basically a giant
jail?
A giant terror jail?
Honestly based, maybe accidental based, but based indeed.
And he didn't illegally break in. He drove in.
Right.
Probably on a Jewish-only road.
Yeah, that is so wild. They're just like, all right, let's reverse it for a second. What if some Israeli guy broke into the alligator fucking pond at the, at the new alligator prison? Like, that is wild. Thank you, David Marcus.
Mark Randazza, who I've never heard of.
No idea.
He's got America, Italy, and Brazil on his flag.
What are we doing?
Flight. Let's recap. Guy goes to a foreign country and wanders into a questionable neighborhood.
It's a dangerous neighborhood. The West Bank is a tough neighborhood, as every single Israeli leader has described it. Wow.
Questionable.
Yeah.
The local security detains him. He's now pissed off that when he played the "Don't you know who I am" card, they laughed at him.
The local security, you were stopped by some Klansmen.
a group of feral zombies who we've hired to play the local neighborhood block watch.
Yeah, that's right. Our local militia of orphans detained you for a while.
Some guy tried to claim, I don't have this video, but what's his name? Gedalia something. He's Israeli. He tries to explain very reasonably that it was Shabbat, it was Saturday, and they were just shomrim. They were just sort of keeping the Sabbath, and they keep video cameras to make sure no one's driving on the Sabbath, and that triggered the alert and all this kind of stuff. So it was a religious thing.
Yes. Yeah, you can definitely fire a gun on Shabbat. Yes. Thank you, Adam. Yeah.
You're out of your element, Donnie. Steve Eisner. This is speaking of the nightlife. Exactly. Ro Khanna wasn't going to Israel to visit the Wailing Wall or check out the incredible Israeli nightlife.
The only two things that you are apparent that they have to offer.
The holiest place in Judaism and the glory holiest place in Judaism.
Wow.
Glory holiest of holies.
Yes.
His sole purpose was to cause trouble, get his photo op, and show his bona fides to the radical communist left for his 2028 presidential run. Well, thank God the radical communist left is a demographic you have to appeal to in politics these days.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Jake Donnelly has a hilarious take. You want to read this one, Matt?
Yeah. Want to know how this is a publicity stunt? Dude is wearing a blazer and tie in Israel in fucking July. That's how you know, dude. No one wears a blazer in Israel.
Itamar Ben-Gvir never wears a suit.
Yeah,
Bezalel Smotrich is always wearing safari, shirts.
That's how I know it's fake. He should be in a hoodie.
You should be in an IDF uniform.
You should be either IDF uniform or he should be currently putting on tefillin. Those are the only ways he should be dressed.
Carol Markowitz says, "Do I ever criticize Israel?" Carol with a K, by the way. 2 letters away from Karen. "Yes, let me do it right now. Why would you let Ro Khanna into the country? Obviously, he was going to get exactly this photo op, and the biggest morons in America would hand-wring on X. Blunder by Israel. Wish they were more like their haters imagine."
I'm sorry, but like the obviously he was going to get this exact photo op. It's actually very easy to not have a U.S. senator being accosted by a fucking militia of orphans. Like this idea that well, of course that was going to happen. You went into the area where we let that happen. It's like, come on, man.
As Jasper
and
Nathaniel
also,
said,
this was a blunder by Israel. Like, do I ever criticize Israel? And this was a blunder by Israel, but he wasn't in Israel.
Right, exactly. I mean,
but therein is it's like a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But don't tell Carol that that's not Israel. She'll flip a fucking
I love
gasket.
questionable neighborhood as the new meta for occupied territory.
That's right. Yeah.
Carol Markowitz, this is also hysterical. She took a totally different tack here. She's talking about the photographer, the Times photographer, who took the picture of Khanna. I am so surprised that the Times photographer with Khanna is an anti-Israel activist. Cannot believe it. And this is the same person who sided with anti-Israel activists against Scarlett Johansson during the SodaStream controversy.
Wow. Damn. So this dude is a real Hamasnik.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Bruce Pearl, Coach Bruce Pearl. Who does he coach?
It's these blue check marks are not real people.
No, but he is a coach. I think he's an NCAA coach or something. Or maybe he's like a sports pundit on TNT. "Hey, Ro, I've been to Judea and Samaria, and it's the most beautiful part of Israel. I'm sorry you were, quote, detained. You know what would happen to you if you were Jewish and you took a wrong turn and found yourself in a place like Jenin? You'd be killed, all caps. Toughen up. Jasper posted, here's a video of me, hope it helps, coach. And it's him being like clambered over by Palestinian children in Jenin, people serving him food, total hospitality and warmth. They love having Jews there who are there for the right reason.
Yeah. I also, it's really funny to be like, do you know what would happen to you if you weren't a U.S. senator? And it's like, wait, but he is a U.S. senator who's being fucking detained and threatened by fucking Israeli settlers. Like, it's just the way you have to imagine a scenario that's worse in order to talk about something that actually happened.
I'm sorry you were seized from your home and put in a medium security prison with no charge for the next 2 years. Do you know that you could have been seized from your home, your wife and kids killed, and put in a maximum security prison for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Could have been worse. Look on the bright side.
Phantom scenarios is kind of like the Israeli thing, right?
Yes,
like
I love that.
Yeah,
Phantom
that's the way to put it. Yes, where you can immediately counteract any actual real life thing that happened with something that the scariest thought that you've ever thought. You think getting detained by Israeli settlers is bad. What if you were in a pit with 1 million anti-Semitic snakes and they all bit you at the same time and then an elephant stomped on you? It'd be pretty bad, huh?
It reminds me a lot of that. Is it Mayim? Mayim
Bialik. Yeah.
Like
yes.
she comes up with the best kind of phantom situations of anti-Semitism and fear.
Yes.
Well, but in fairness, she's surrounded by anti-Zionist agitators, by which we mean her adult children.
Yes,
who hate her.
Her children keep bringing her. She keeps bringing up her children on the podcast as like people who have said things like, "Well, when's the last time you posted in support of Palestine, Mom?" Or things like, "I can't walk around my own house without being called a Republican."
I actually didn't know this. Didn't she talk about how her children had to witness people in T-shirts that didn't
and then her children, who are 20 years old or something, responded to that being like, well, Mom, they kind of have a point. When's the last time you posted in support of Palestinian children?
Yes. She admitted this. It's
so the children's book that she wrote wasn't for her children.
She didn't write it. She promoted it and maybe like funded it. Yeah.
Yes.
So she's been like, trying to, I mean, people like me all this time have thought that she has these young children. That
no.
She is,
no.
There's a real danger to
her
them.
Her kids stopped letting her read them bedtime stories when they were 17.
Yes.
They're not trying to hear it.
No, she got grown ass kids, and I say groan, GROAN, because they are groaning at her all the time.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite. This is my favorite. I'm glad to end with this one. This is Corey Walker at Corey Writing, who says, ban agitators. You read this one, Matt. This one's for you.
Ban agitators like Ro Khanna and Cam Kasky from Israel. Invite more people like Clavicular to Israel. This is not hard. Dr. Sabreena, what do you know about looks maxing?
I don't.
Well, you really need to get up on your looks maxing, because this is Clavicular is like the number one influencer for young boys who hit themselves on the face with hammers in order to develop cheekbones.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no. Speaking of Clavicular, he actually he I believe he is leaving Israel, and he's pissed he ever went there because he did this country a huge favor by showing up to do live stream events for him, and all they did was pick on him for going into clubs and acting a fool. It is truly amazing.
He did some TikToks with like one of the IDF's like young hot press spokespeople, and now she's getting into trouble for it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So this person is saying that we should have more of those types of people instead of senators and politicians and people who can write tweets.
Yes. He's like, stop inviting senators and start inviting more open meth addicts to Israel in order to show how cool the nightlife is, at least for long enough before they turn on the country for being shitty.
Or turn a gun on themselves. You ever heard Clavicular speak? Like, just the intense, the soullessness in his eyes.
Dude.
The self-loathing.
It's
thinly
like
disguised as like confidence, and he's
No,
selling
yeah.
confidence to young boys. I shudder to think.
Yeah,
It's like
he's
an
like one of
Andrew
the
Tate, I guess.
But with
Yeah.
less testosterone.
yeah, and
It's
less
pure
confidence.
vanity and like if you can
Yeah.
imagine, he's got less life in him than Andrew
Yeah.
Tate does.
Yeah, yeah, because at least Andrew Tate has like developed like I don't know, a reality to live in which he probably does believe he is like some sort of king, whereas I'm pretty sure that Clavicular is in a deep state of manic depression, but he looks great, guys.
That's what
He looks
happens when
great.
you name yourself after a bone.
That's right.
I was just about to say, was it like the smashing of the face that led to
I'm sure it
the
did.
name?
Yeah, I can only guess as to where the origin of the name comes from. But
I'm gonna take a chainsaw to my skull and call myself Cranial.
there we go. That works.
And then he went to Israel, which has the largest skin bank in the world, in case he needed
They really
to
control
replace
all the banks,
the facial
don't they?
skin.
They control the skin banks. I'm just kidding. Dayquil. Last thoughts.
That's where you get your pound of flesh from.
That's for shut up. Last thoughts on Ro Khanna before we wrap up. I am glad that he went out there. I think it is a overall positive thing that even, for people who are incredibly cynical like me, I look at it as like, if he is full of shit and is just using this for political purposes, just to pander to, an electorate that wants to see the end of support for Israel. The fact that it is recognized that that electorate exists and is powerful and votes in large numbers and will continue to grow, it says to me that this is a positive. It's positive bit of movement. That's how I feel about it. Despite my feelings about Ro being kind of like, I don't know. He seems a little.
Yeah. I'm also obviously a cynic, but I think the proof is in the pudding, and in this case, it's like the proof is in the tweets. And when you see this kind of like mass hysterical, worried tweeting coming out from the pro-Israel crowd, it means that something is shifting. There's a reason why they're worried about what this makes Israel look like. So I think it was there's a positive impact of him going there, and we need more people like him to actually make non-APAC funded trips. And I mean, I had mentioned this to Daniel, but a Canadian delegate had gone to Israel delegation, and MP Ikra Khalid, who is also a Brown MP here, was assaulted by the IDF, and there were bullets fired at the delegation. Nobody was shot, but they were shot at. And to me at the time, again, it was like such a brazen disrespect of Western politicians. Like, I'm shocked at this point that there is no dignity or self-respect amongst American politicians, Western politicians. Like, aren't you just embarrassed by how you were treated?
Yeah. It is shocking. And then again, at the same time, you look at Lindsey Graham and you go like, there doesn't need to be self-respect, because when you die, everyone's just going to be like, and they were so great and wonderful and we loved them. So it's like, if you're all cucking for Israel together, then you get to live in this constructed fantasy in which that's fine. None of us have self-respect. The fact is we're all just going to be civil to each other when we die.
You get to live in the basement. Self-debasement.
Hey, I like it. And I think that's been an episode. I think we've talked about a lot.
Boy,
Doctor.
Oh boy, did we cram a lot in. I'm glad we got to it
did.
all. Thank you for bearing with us there, Sabreena, and sticking it out for the duration.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
on.
It was fun. It was fun chatting with you guys, and I'm so glad we got through everything as well, because those were some important, very current events for us to cover. So I'm excited to see what comes of it, and it was so great to be a part of your conversation, and hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah,
we'd love to have you back. Anything you want people to know about that's coming up, or just where to find your book?
You can go to my website to find the book DEI Undone, which is really just kind of like talks about the death of liberalism and how DEI has, been is representative of liberalism. Just kind of catch me on all the social media platforms where I do my advocacy, and you'll see me talking shit and being loud and noxious and anti-Semitic.
Hell yeah!
The more the merrier. And we will link to your website as well as all your social medias on our in the show description, the show notes.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you to everyone out there for listening / watching another episode of Bad Hasbara. Patreon.com/badhasbara, badhasbara@gmail.com for all your questions, comments, and concerns. All right, folks. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, from the river to the sea.
All right, this is in the devil's voice, okay?
Oh.
A graham cracker. S'mores for me.
Jumping jacks was us. Push-ups was us. Krav Maga us. All karate us. Taking Molly us. Michael Jackson.